There are moments when something unexplainable happens. Moments that feel less like coincidence and more like a hidden force guiding you. You stumble upon something you weren't even searching for, yet it feels as though it was meant for you all along. If you found this video today, it's not random. Something within you is ready to hear what's coming next. And when you do, you might begin to see yourself in ways you never imagined possible. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of all time, believed that what we call fate often begins deep inside our own unconscious mind. He said that there are forces within us that quietly shape the path of our lives, not by chance, but through meaning. These are not just psychological patterns. They are messages, symbols, and signs speaking from the hidden parts of our soul. But here's the strange thing. Most people never realize it. They live their lives thinking they are making decisions consciously, unaware that something older, wiser, and far more mysterious is pulling the strings beneath their awareness. Jung called this hidden realm the unconscious, a world filled with forgotten memories, repressed feelings, and ancient archetypes that whisper through our dreams and daily experiences. If you've ever met someone and instantly felt as though you already knew them, or experienced an event that seemed perfectly timed, almost too precise to be mere coincidence, Jung would say that was your unconscious revealing itself. He believed these moments were not random. They were messages, signals from a deeper intelligence within, trying to bring balance and meaning to your life. There's a reason you feel drawn to certain stories, symbols, or people. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that connect the outer world with your inner one. They happen when your inner life and outer reality align in a way that can't be explained logically, yet feels profoundly true. Before we go deeper into how these mysterious forces shape your choices and destiny, make sure you subscribe to SYC Soul, like this video, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because what you're about to discover might change the way you understand your life forever. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind isn't just a dark vault of forgotten memories. It's alive, responsive, and deeply connected to something greater than ourselves. He described it as a vast ocean beneath the surface of our waking thoughts, where symbols, instincts, and hidden truths float in silence, waiting for the right moment to rise. And when they do, they often appear disguised in our dreams, our relationships, or in patterns that keep repeating in our lives. You've probably felt this before, that strange sense of déjà vu when a moment feels eerily familiar, or when a dream seems to mirror something that later unfolds in reality. Jung would tell you that this is not an accident. These are the subtle footprints of the unconscious, guiding you toward understanding something you've been avoiding or denying. He called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. According to Jung, every human carries within them both light and shadow. The light represents all we consciously accept about ourselves, our kindness, our talents, our hopes. But the shadow holds what we repress, our fears, jealousies, desires, and pain. The more we ignore our shadow, the more power it gains over us, shaping our choices without our knowledge. So when you find yourself repeating the same mistakes, attracting the same kind of people, or facing the same emotional struggles, Jung would say your unconscious is trying to tell you something. It's not punishment, it's communication. Life repeats lessons until they are understood. This idea might sound unsettling, but it's also liberating. Because once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to integrate them, to bring light into the shadow. Jung believed that this integration leads to transformation, not by changing who you are, but by finally accepting all that you are. And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe something in this message is stirring a memory or emotion you can't quite name. If it is, that's your unconscious responding. It's recognizing a truth your mind has long ignored. If you're connecting with what I'm saying, let me know in the comments. Tell me where you're watching this video from. It's always fascinating to see how these shared ideas reach souls across the world. Now, let's go even deeper into how Jung discovered these truths, and why he believed dreams are not illusions, but messages from the soul itself. Carl Jung often said that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. He didn't see them as meaningless flashes of the sleeping mind, but as coded messages, living symbols sent by the deeper self to guide the waking one. In his view, every dream carries purpose. Every image conceals a truth, and every emotion felt in sleep reflects something the conscious mind refuses to face. He studied thousands of dreams, both his own and those of his patients. Through them, Jung discovered that the human psyche speaks through universal symbols, what he called archetypes. These symbols appear in myths, legends, and religions across all cultures, as if humanity shares one collective memory. Whether it's the wise old man, the shadowy figure, the nurturing mother, or the hero on a quest, these archetypes live within each of us, shaping our inner stories and influencing our real lives. Jung realized that when we dream, these archetypes step forward to reveal what's happening deep inside our soul. They show us our fears, our desires, and our destiny, but never directly. Instead, they speak in a language of symbols. A storm in a dream might not be just bad weather. It could be emotional chaos waiting to be acknowledged. A locked door might represent an opportunity you fear to open. And when people ignored their dreams, Jung noticed something powerful. The unconscious would find another way to express itself. Sometimes through illness, conflict, or an unexpected event that forced them to confront what they were avoiding. He believed the psyche has a natural drive toward wholeness, and if we resist it, life itself begins to push us back on course. That's why Jung said the goal of life is not perfection, but completion. To become whole, to bring the conscious and unconscious into harmony, is the true purpose of existence. And dreams, he said, are the compass that point us toward that wholeness. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever had a dream that stayed with you for days, maybe weeks? One that felt strangely significant, even though you couldn't explain why. That feeling is your unconscious trying to get your attention. Because what we call coincidence, intuition, or even gut feeling, Jung would call communication from the soul. And in the next part, we'll explore how these inner messages don't just shape your thoughts, they can alter your reality itself. Carl Jung believed that what happens inside us eventually manifests outside us. In other words, the unconscious doesn't just stay hidden, it shapes the world we experience. He described this mysterious bridge between the inner and outer worlds with one word: synchronicity. Synchronicity, according to Jung, is when two or more events appear connected, not by cause, but by meaning. It's when the universe seems to whisper in patterns. Imagine thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly they call. Or you're reading a book, and a line answers a question that's been haunting you. These aren't accidents, Jung said. They're messages from the deeper layers of reality, where the psyche and the universe intertwine. To Jung, this wasn't superstition. It was evidence that the mind and the cosmos are mirrors of each other, a reflection of an unseen unity. He believed that when we align with our inner truth, the outer world responds in ways that seem magical but are deeply natural. These coincidences, these moments of perfect timing, reveal that life is not random. It's meaningful. And maybe you've felt this too. Those quiet moments when something beyond logic seems to guide you. You meet the right person at the right time, or a difficult situation suddenly leads to the exact lesson you needed. Jung would say, that's synchronicity at work, the unconscious and the universe speaking the same language. But here's the deeper layer. These experiences only become visible when we are paying attention. The more disconnected we are from ourselves, the less we notice the signs. That's why Jung emphasized awareness, the ability to stay awake not just to your thoughts, but to the hidden connections that weave through your daily life. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Think about that. How many times have you called something destiny, when it might have been your own mind seeking balance, trying to teach you something? If you're beginning to see patterns in your life, the same emotions repeating, similar faces appearing, or events that feel strangely linked, it could be your psyche reaching out through synchronicity, asking you to listen. Because when you start listening, everything changes. The world stops being random and starts becoming personal. In the next part, we'll explore what Jung discovered about the shadow self, the part of us that hides everything we refuse to face. Carl Jung believed that every person carries within them a hidden companion, one that walks with us silently through life. He called it the shadow. It isn't evil in itself, but it contains everything we have rejected, denied, or refused to see within ourselves. Every jealousy, fear, desire, and impulse we've pushed away lives there. And no matter how hard we try to bury it, the shadow always finds a way to reveal itself. Jung noticed that people often project their shadows onto others. Instead of admitting our flaws, we see them in the people around us. We call someone arrogant, cruel, or selfish, never realizing that the very qualities we condemn might be sleeping quietly within us. That's why Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Facing the shadow isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, even frightening, because it demands honesty. It asks you to look directly at the parts of yourself that don't fit your ideal image. But Jung believed that healing begins the moment we stop running from our darkness. The goal isn't to destroy the shadow, it's to recognize it, to bring light to it. Only then can we become whole. You can feel the shadow at work when you overreact to something small, when an emotion bursts out of nowhere, or when you feel an unexplainable dislike toward someone. These reactions are signals, reminders that the shadow is speaking. Ignoring it only gives it more control. But by acknowledging it, by listening without judgment, we take back our power. Jung taught that the journey toward self-awareness requires descending into this hidden world, confronting what's been buried, and accepting that every human being contains both light and darkness. In this balance, he said, lies our true humanity. It's through this confrontation that transformation begins. When you face your shadow, it no longer needs to act out in your life because it has finally been seen. If these truths are resonating with you, tell me in the comments where you're watching this from. It's always amazing to see how deeply Jung's ideas still connect with people around the world. And if this is reaching you, know that you're already doing what many never dare to do, looking inward. In the next part, we'll step beyond the shadow and explore Jung's idea of the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine forces that shape our emotions, relationships, and balance. Beyond the shadow, Carl Jung discovered two profound forces that live inside every human being, the anima and the animus. He described them as the inner feminine and inner masculine energies that exist in all of us, regardless of gender. These forces, he said, shape how we love, how we relate to others, and how we experience balance within ourselves. The anima is the feminine aspect within a man, the emotional, intuitive, nurturing energy that connects him to creativity, empathy, and feeling. The animus is the masculine aspect within a woman, the rational, assertive, and purposeful energy that gives her strength, clarity, and direction. Jung believed that wholeness can only be achieved when these inner opposites learn to coexist in harmony. When a person represses one of these forces, it doesn't disappear, it distorts. For example, when a man denies his anima, he may become disconnected from his emotions, unable to understand the language of his own heart. And when a woman suppresses her animus, she may lose confidence in her inner authority, depending too much on external validation. Jung saw this inner tension play out not just in individuals, but in relationships. We often project our inner anima or animus onto the people we fall in love with. We see in them what is hidden within ourselves. That's why certain connections feel magnetic or fated. We aren't just drawn to another person. We are drawn to the missing parts of ourselves. He wrote that love, at its deepest level, isn't about possession or romance. It's a mirror through which we recognize our own soul. The people who challenge us most, who awaken deep emotions, are often carrying the reflection of something inside us we haven't yet made peace with. Understanding this changes everything. It turns relationships from sources of confusion into paths of discovery. Every conflict becomes a lesson. Every attraction a signal. Every heartbreak a teacher. Jung's insight reminds us that the people who enter our lives are not accidents. They are invitations to integrate what's incomplete within. So, when someone deeply affects you, positively or painfully, pause and look inward. Ask yourself, what part of me is being revealed through them? That's where transformation begins. Because the real journey isn't about finding another person. It's about finding balance within yourself. In the next part, we'll explore how Jung's encounters with the unconscious led him to a mysterious experience he called the Red Book, where his own psyche began to speak back to him. There came a time in Carl Jung's life when theory was no longer enough, when the mysteries he studied began to reveal themselves directly to him. This period led to one of the most extraordinary creations in psychological history, the Red Book. It wasn't written for fame or for science, but as a private record of Jung's descent into the depths of his own unconscious. After a painful separation from his mentor Sigmund Freud, Jung experienced what he later called confrontation with the unconscious. Strange images began to rise from within him. Visions, voices, and symbols that felt both terrifying and divine. Instead of rejecting them, Jung chose to listen. He believed that to truly understand the psyche, one must face its chaos directly, not suppress it. Every day, he allowed his imagination to lead him into what he called active imagination, a dialogue between the conscious mind and the deeper self. He would close his eyes, let images appear, and then record what he saw and felt in vivid detail. The Red Book became a living map of this journey, filled with paintings, dialogues, and mystical experiences that later formed the foundation of his most profound ideas. Jung didn't see these visions as delusions. He saw them as messages from the collective unconscious, that universal realm where myths, gods, and archetypes dwell. He encountered figures that represented wisdom, darkness, temptation, and truth. Each one, he said, was a part of his own psyche, trying to communicate. Through this process, Jung came to believe that every person carries within them a divine spark, what he called the self, the center of the psyche that guides us toward balance and meaning. But to reach it, one must first walk through the storm of the unconscious, confronting both light and shadow. The Red Book was Jung's descent and his rebirth. He later said that everything he discovered afterward, archetypes, dreams, individuation, all came from that inner journey. It's fascinating to think that one of the greatest minds of psychology didn't just study the human soul, he ventured into it. If you've ever felt as though something deep inside you is trying to speak through dreams, visions, or emotions that won't fade, perhaps your own Red Book is waiting to be written. In the next part, we'll explore what Jung meant by the self and how finding it can transform the meaning of your entire existence. Carl Jung described the self as the ultimate goal of human development, the hidden center of our being where all opposites unite. It isn't the same as the ego, which is the small I that we identify with daily. The self is far greater. It is the totality of who we are, both conscious and unconscious. Jung said the self acts as a guiding force, quietly drawing us toward wholeness, even through pain and confusion. He believed that life itself is a dialogue between the ego and the self. The ego wants control, safety, and certainty, while the self seeks growth, integration, and meaning. This conflict often shows up when life forces us into change, when old patterns collapse and new paths demand to be followed. To Jung, these crises weren't random misfortunes. They were invitations from the self, pushing us closer to our true center. He saw this in countless people who came to him for help, those who felt lost, depressed, or unsure of their purpose. What they often called breakdowns, Jung saw as breakthroughs. The soul, he said, doesn't destroy, it transforms. It breaks what no longer serves us so something deeper can emerge. The process of discovering the self is what Jung called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. It means acknowledging every part of ourselves, our logic and our instincts, our light and our darkness, our masculine and feminine energies. It means realizing that the divine isn't outside us, it lives within. When we resist this process, life tends to repeat its lessons. But when we surrender and listen, synchronicities begin to appear, guiding us toward inner balance. Jung often said the self speaks through symbols, a recurring dream, a powerful emotion, or an image that keeps haunting your thoughts. These are not coincidences. They're messages from the deepest part of your being. He compared the self to a compass. It always points you toward authenticity, even when the direction feels uncertain. That's why so many of Jung's teachings lead us inward. The answers we seek are rarely found in the outer world. They rise from the silence within. If you're feeling that pull, that quiet urge to understand yourself more deeply, it's the self calling. And the more you listen, the clearer the path becomes. In the next part, we'll uncover Jung's view on the collective unconscious, the shared realm of symbols and myths that connects every human soul on Earth. Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious is one of his most mysterious and powerful contributions to psychology. He believed that beneath our personal memories lies a deeper layer of the mind, one that all humans share, regardless of culture, language, or time. It is the hidden library of the human soul, filled with ancient images, instincts, and patterns of experience that shape how we think, feel, and dream. Jung called these recurring images archetypes, universal symbols that appear in myths, religions, art, and dreams across the world. From the beginning of civilization, humanity has told stories of heroes, mothers, tricksters, wise elders, and shadows. These figures appear again and again because they are not just part of history, they are part of us. The collective unconscious, Jung said, is proof that our minds are not isolated islands. We are connected through invisible threads of meaning that stretch beyond generations. When you dream of a journey, a battle, or a mysterious figure offering guidance, you are touching symbols that countless others before you have also encountered. He believed that this shared inner world is why ancient myths still move us today. A story written thousands of years ago can feel personal because the symbols it carries awaken something deep and familiar. It's as if every human being carries a fragment of the same great dream. Jung warned, however, that ignoring this realm leaves us unbalanced. Modern life, with all its distractions, often cuts us off from the symbolic dimension of existence. Without myth, we lose connection to meaning. Without meaning, we lose connection to ourselves. He urged people to listen to their dreams, study old stories, and observe recurring patterns in life, because each one is a doorway to the collective unconscious. He believed that healing, both individually and collectively, depends on remembering this connection. When a person begins to recognize the ancient patterns shaping their life, they awaken to their true place within humanity's larger story. That realization, Jung said, brings humility and wisdom, because you begin to see that your personal struggles are part of a much greater whole. So, when something inside you feels ancient, a symbol, a dream, a fear, or a longing that feels older than you, don't dismiss it. You might be touching that shared well of timeless wisdom that flows through every soul on earth. In the next and final part, We'll explore how Jung believed these ideas could transform not only psychology, but the very way we live, and how awareness of the soul can bring peace to a divided world. Carl Jung believed that true healing, both for the individual and for humanity, begins when we remember the reality of the soul. He saw the modern world drifting away from that awareness, lost in materialism and noise, forgetting that behind every thought, every emotion, and every conflict, there is a spiritual dimension quietly seeking recognition. Jung's work was never meant only for therapy. It was a map for rediscovering meaning in an age that had forgotten how to look inward. He warned that when we deny the existence of the soul, we fall into emptiness. We chase success but lose purpose. We collect possessions but feel hollow. And we mistake constant activity for growth. For Jung, the greatest danger wasn't ignorance. It was disconnection from the inner life. He said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." Yet he also believed there is hope. The psyche has its own intelligence, and even when we ignore it, it continues to guide us through dreams, synchronicities, and moments of intuition. The soul never stops calling. It only waits for us to listen. When we begin that dialogue, when we honor both reason and mystery, the world around us begins to change. Jung envisioned a future where individuals who understand themselves, who integrate their shadows, balance their inner forces, and listen to their unconscious, become lights for others. He said that when even one person becomes more conscious, it influences the collective whole. In that sense, self-knowledge is not selfish. It is sacred work. He often reminded his students that the symbols and archetypes we discover inside are not relics of the past. They are living forces shaping humanity's future. Every act of awareness adds harmony to the vast web of the collective unconscious. So perhaps that's the real message Jung left behind, that by turning inward, you don't escape the world, you help heal it. Because every person who finds inner balance sends ripples of understanding outward, quietly transforming the human story. If this journey through Jung's ideas has touched you, make sure you subscribe to SYC Soul, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And share this with someone who needs a reminder that meaning still exists, within them and all around them. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Maybe this is your moment to awaken.